Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the totally fascinating science-backed link between what's on your plate and your fertility journey. Look, if you're planning to grow your family, you've probably wondered, hey, how much do my daily habits actually matter? Well, it turns out nutrition is absolutely huge. So we're gonna dive right into the latest peer-reviewed research and break down 5 specific foods you might want to avoid, plus some seriously powerful evidence-based swaps you can make instead to give yourselves the best possible odds at conception. Let's get into it. Okay, so right off the bat, let's just acknowledge that fertility is, well, it's incredibly complex. Actually, infertility affects about 10 to 15% of couples, so if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the moving parts, that is entirely normal. But here is the super empowering news. Adjusting your shared nutritional habits can significantly improve your odds. And notice I emphasize the word shared there. This isn't just on the person carrying the pregnancy. Nope, this is very much a team effort. Just take a look at this 50-50 split. Infertility is actually attributed to the male partner about 50% of the time. This is primarily down to low spermatogenesis, which is really just the medical term for a lack of healthy sperm production. So it's absolutely crucial to realize these dietary shifts, they're for both partners. When you both adopt habits that support fertility, you're literally stacking the deck in your favor. All right, section 1, meats and processed carbs, roadblocks to conception. First up on the chopping block, pun intended, red and processed meats. We're talking your beef, bacon, hot dogs, the works. Current research tells us that eating a lot of these is a major dietary contributor to infertility, and that goes for all genders. For the guys, heavy processed meat eaters show lower sperm quality, count, and motility. And for women, high intake of animal protein overall is linked to a higher rate of ovulation disorders. But hey, the great news is that swapping those out for plant-based proteins, think tofu, lentils, beans, seitan, is a fantastic alternative that actively supports your goals. And the impact of this simple swap is honestly massive. Researchers tracked 141 men going through IVF treatments with their partners, and get this, men who ate fewer than 1.5 servings of processed meat a week had a 28% better chance of achieving pregnancy than guys eating over 4 servings a week. Just let that sink in for a second. 28%. That's a huge difference just from skipping the morning bacon a few days a week. Next up, we gotta talk about ultra-processed carbs. You know, high glycemic stuff like white bread, regular pasta, packaged snacks. These trigger major blood sugar spikes right after you eat them. But the real issue isn't just the spike. It's that these foods are completely stripped of fiber and loaded with added sugar. That combination is notorious for reducing fertility. So try swapping out the white bread for fiber-rich whole grains, quinoa, oats, 100% whole wheat. Fiber actually has this incredible protective effect against ovulatory infertility. Moving right along to section 2, bad fats and sugary drinks, the hidden hurdles. Look, we all love a good pastry or a donut, right? But commercial baked goods, especially the fried ones or anything made with margarine, often hide trans fats and saturated fats. Now, you might be thinking, wait, aren't trans fats officially banned? Well, here's a little insider secret. Foods with less than 0.5 gram per serving can legally be labeled trans fat free. Yup, and consuming even those trace amounts is strongly linked to poorer fertility outcomes. On the flip side, leaning into monounsaturated fats, those amazing, healthy fats in avocados, olive oil, and nuts, actively supports your reproductive health. The real kicker here is just how damaging those bad fats actually are. Research found that choosing trans fats over healthier carbs is linked to a staggering 73% higher risk of ovulatory disorders. 73%! That is a massive roadblock to conception. And the crazy part is, it can be totally avoided just by grabbing an avocado or a handful of almonds instead of that packaged muffin. And then there's what's hiding in our cups. Sugary drinks like soda and energy drinks are a huge hurdle. There was this one massive study with thousands of couples, and it showed that drinking 7 or more sugary drinks a week significantly drops fertility for both men and women. For women specifically, it actually lowered the total number of mature and fertilized eggs, and even embryo quality. The wild part? Caffeine wasn't the main bad guy here, it was the added sugar. So making unsweetened seltzer or just good old lemon water your go-to drink is the ultimate fertility-friendly swap. All right, section 3, the dairy dilemma, a tale of 2 sexes. Now, the dairy data brings us a real plot twist because it reveals this fascinating sex-specific split. If we look at the guys, low-fat or skim dairy actually supports sperm quality, while full-fat dairy is tied to lower semen quality. But for women, it completely flips. Women eating full-fat dairy at least once a day saw a 25% lower risk of ovulatory infertility compared to those who rarely ate it. And on the flip side, women eating more than 2 servings of low-fat dairy a day were 85% more likely to have ovulation issues. Crazy, right? So gentlemen, go ahead and reach for the skim milk. Ladies, full fat is definitely your best bet. Which brings us to Section 4, Building Better Habits, the whole person approach. Because diet is vital, but we have to zoom out and look at the whole picture. These holistic habits are absolute game changers. First up, sleep. Disrupted sleep messes with testosterone and spikes your stress hormones, so get those Z's. Second, manage your mental stress, because stress literally changes the brain functions related to reproduction. Third, exercise moderately. Studies show guys who exercise an hour a day 3 times a week have the best sperm health. But careful, going overboard can actually have the opposite effect. Fourth, get on a daily prenatal vitamin with folic acid. It's an absolute must for healthy conception. And finally, steer clear of smoking, recreational drugs, and excess alcohol. In fact, one study showed that tossing back more than 14 drinks a week is directly linked to taking longer to conceive. To wrap up this explainer, we want to leave you with a super low-stakes, totally actionable challenge straight from the source material. We're calling it the Just One Thing Challenge. All you gotta do is swap out red or processed meat for a plant-based protein for just one meal today. That's it. Whether it's trying a lentil veggie burger, grilling some marinated tofu, or just throwing some extra beans in your chili, just make that one simple swap. Which brings us to our final question for you. What small swap are you and your partner gonna make today to fuel your fertility journey? Because when it comes to creating new life, taking the pressure off and taking it one meal at a time might just be the secret. The most powerful tool you have could literally be sitting in your grocery cart right now. Thanks so much for exploring this with us, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.